Hello everyone, Pastor Ian, the Krabby Crafter here, and this is the April Spellbinders Card Club of the Month kit. This is the card sample that comes with a kit. You have the little design there, and we're going to jump right in today. I'm not doing the unboxing like I normally do. We're just going to go ahead and start working on cards. I've already got everything prepared off camera. I've already cut out all my flowery pieces with the dies that came with the kit. Already cut out these little envelope pieces that you can see here. Now, the sample calls for a white envelope. I went ahead and cut a piece out of craft stock in some different colors, even some of that gold foil paper, just to have a couple ready to use maybe on some other cards, and you'll see that a little bit later on. This month is a little bit different because we do get the large and small die of the month now with our kit. So we're not going to focus on those in this. I will show you 3 cards I made using those dies towards the end, just kind of as a bonus. If I don't do it on this video, then we'll throw it in on another video and show you that as well. But so we're going to work on, like we normally do, we're going to work on the first card that comes with it. Just show you how to do that one that comes with the kit. I've said this before, it gives you pictures, but sometimes the pictures aren't the most accurate. And so we need to kind of work a little bit at that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the paper that came with it there, and we're going to cut it down. It's a 6x6 sheet of paper. We're going to cut it down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 so that it fits an A2 card front. So we got to go ahead and prep the card base there. So I'm not going to do it this time. So I'm going to go ahead and speed things up just a little bit, and then we're just going to kind of talk through this, the preparation, what we're working on as far as how to do this sample card, and then we'll jump right into the cards that we made this month as well. And as always, hope this is encouraging your creativity and encouraging you to kind of grab the kit and just go to work making your own cards and getting some ideas. So we're going to speed things up, and then we'll just hit the ground running. Right, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to grab our double-sided tape, grab our little tape runner here, and we're going to put that on the back of the card paper stock that we trimmed down. We're going to put that on front of our card base and get that ready to go. I love these little folders that came with the kit this month. I love this little envelope piece. You can do a lot of different things with this. You can actually just do it as a standalone die if you want. And what I'm actually doing now is I'm grabbing the double-sided tape that came with the kit. In my previous videos, I used my little tape runner, and I thought about it. I said, you know, if I'm going to use the kit, I should actually show you how to use the pieces in the kit. So what we're doing is on the cards for this month, I just used that little roll of double-sided tape. It actually goes a long way. And so we're just we put the front piece in there, and we got it centered and glued it down. And now we're going to go ahead and fold the flaps over the back side, take off the strip from the double-sided tape. We're going to fold that over the back side, and that'll get the envelope ready to go on the front of the card. And I'm going to go ahead and fold this flap down so you can kind of see what it looks like. You could actually do this way, where you could actually open and close the flap on the front of the card. I'm actually going to wind up going back in just a moment. You'll see we're going to put some tape on that, and we're going to go ahead and tape that front down to stay true to the sample that came with the card kit. So once we get the tape pulled off and ready, we just center that right on the card front there, and we're good to go. And then, like I said, we're going to go ahead and put that flap down as well. You see all the different flowers sticking out of it. This card front's designed just to kind of be really colorful. I think the hardest part of this is, and I didn't show you off camera, was cutting all of the flower pieces, all these leaves. I did some light green, some dark green, and then we just cut all the different ones. And the way I do this, guys, just to, again, I didn't show you on camera, just lay all of the dies on one color cardstock, and then do it again on a different color cardstock, and you just keep doing that so that you have several different colors. You don't have to do one die at a time. Your flowers are all going to be different color. The only one that you have to do kind of repetitive is the little dark blue pieces, the little center pieces of the flowers. There's only 3 of those. So that one, like we just put on there, and then the one we're going to put on the yellow, those little center pieces of the flowers, it's one die with 3 pieces. You'll see that in the kit. And well, you just have to run it through, get your 3 pieces, run it through again. So I did that several times, you know, just kind of sitting there relaxing. I do have a vagabond, which helps. So it's automatic. I just push a button, it does it for me. I don't have to keep scrolling. So all we're doing now is we're just kind of laying out some pieces. And you see, I also went ahead and that little center piece that we did the dark ones, I went ahead and ran that through as well with some other colors. So you see I've got the light center on the purple there, just different ones, and that way you can kind of mix and match. You don't have to go with just a dark center. You can mix and match. You can put a yellow center on a purple flower, purple center on a blue flower. whatever stands out and whatever works. So all I'm doing at this point is just kind of trying to look at some of my flowers and see how they're going to look, which ones I want to go with. And then we're going to start kind of gluing them together. And you see that we're grabbing the leaves there, and what I'm trying to do is duplicate what's on the sample card up on the right there. And it's never going to be perfect, right? It's not going to be exactly the same guy. It's going to be pretty close. And then when you're putting a card together, kind of like I do, you're going to see something you like a little better, and you're actually going to do a little different. So I'm not going to line my card up the same way as theirs. In fact, actually what I'm lining up right now is going to wind up being different from the final product. But this way I'm just kind of getting a feel for what I'm going to be doing, just kind of see how many parts I'm going to need, make sure I've got all the flowers and different things that I need. And you can see it on the sample, it's actually white, but I'm going with yellow. I just like the yellow flowers better. Just something about it just speaks daisy to me. So we're going to go ahead and stick some of the green stems in there. And the great thing about this is you actually could leave those unglued, and you can actually make it so that they go in and out. If you've seen any of the cards that I do a lot of interactive cards. I like to leave places on the card where something slips into a slot. You can write a little note and they can kind of take it out or do something like that. What we're doing here now is a little jump there is we're going to go ahead and we're going to get all our flowers put together. And so we're just putting a little glue on each one of these, and we're going to grab those little blue pieces and start putting these together. That way give them a chance to dry before we actually put them on our card. It doesn't take long to dry. The glue that I use dries pretty quick. You can use different ones. What I'm doing here is I'm using my little pickup tool to help grab those little pieces, and then I use my tweezers to kind of press it into place on just that one little spot of glue. It's all it takes. It doesn't take much at all. Once that dries, you're going to have a nice, pretty decorative little flower there. Now it looks like this is going pretty quick, but again, this is sped up. It takes a little time, but that's just part of the process. And as I've said so many times before, if this isn't relaxing for you, if making cards isn't something that you can kind of just, I'm just going to go make cards for a while. I want to sit down. I want to relax. If it's not a stress reliever, if you're not doing it because you enjoy it, then you might want to consider finding a different hobby, because it does take a little bit of time. You watch these guys do their videos and they speed theirs up too. And you've got some people who just are so amazing at it, like Jennifer McGuire and Tim Holtz. You watch these guys, Heidi and others. You watch them make their cards and kind of put these pieces together, and they're talking through it kind of like I do, and they just make it look so easy. And then you go sit down to do it and you're like, that took a lot longer. It was a lot harder than I anticipated. So hopefully this is relaxing for you and something that you enjoy. And just doing this right here, this was fun. Just, it's like a puzzle. It's so neat, and you can see the flowers coming together there on the left. So when you're doing something like this, just have fun doing it. And we're not going to use all these. I cut a lot of extra. What I do when I'm done making a set of cards is these will go into a little box or into a little envelope, a little folder, and it's going to be labeled, or it'll be clear so I can look and see what it is. Anytime I want to work on some flowers, I'll just dump that out on the table, and we can make another card using these flowers. So at this point, all we're doing is we're just trying to kind of get the flowers together and get them ready to go. So we're going to jump ahead just a little bit, and we're going to keep on rolling with this sample card. All right, guys, so card number 1 is our sample card. So we've got everything put together. We've got all of our flowers glued together. You can see them up there. We're not going to use all of them on this card. We'll use some of them on some of the other cards. You'll see that. But what's left over, like I said, I have a little box of Spellbinder paper pieces and all the extra pieces that I cut, and they go in there, and anytime that I want to work on a card, I can open that box and put a card or two together and have extra pieces. Started collecting flower dies, so probably going to have a box just full of flower pieces. So that's where the extras will go. So you see that I've taken 2 of the stems. Now the dies, if you notice in the set, the dies, they're 2 stems and they face opposite ways. When you cut them, make sure you know the front and the back. They actually lean left and right, which allows you to kind of put them together the way I did. And then you just put your stems down, and then you layer your flower over the top. And we're trying to stay, I'm trying to stay close to the card, other than different colors, maybe using yellow instead of white, or maybe a different type of a flower. Try to stay close to the card. So what I like to use here is I have a little glue pen, a little liquid glue pen that I use for these smaller pieces. I also have a precision tip glue. You're going to need that. So we're just going to add a couple of little leaves on there. I think I was trying to decide if it needed another leaf, and it kind of just looked like it did, so I just squeezed this last one kind of in there a little bit, kind of overlapped it a little bit, was able to tuck it under that yellow, and that just looked a little more, just looked a little better to me. I was trying to decide if I want to put this one on, and finally decided not to. So now don't worry about the pieces that hang over the edge. Those pieces that hang over the edge, when we're done, we're going to trim those off. If you've ever seen any different card makers, I don't remember who I learned that technique from, but I saw it on one of the other videos. So don't worry about that. When you're done, you'll trim off the edges. Did finally go ahead and put that fourth leaf on there, and we're putting the glue on the stems to go inside the envelopes. And I'm actually, again, I'm not gluing the entire thing down, because again, I like a little movement with the card, and you see actually they're kind of sped up, but I actually used my tweezers to lift up the edge of that just to kind of give it a little lift off the paper. I almost like it. I like it too. We're putting flowers in an envelope. I like it to look like the flowers are falling out of the envelope. So when we put these flowers on, we're actually just putting glue in the middle, not necessarily on the petals, so that we can go back afterwards and we could lift those up if we want to. So you can see how this is coming together. If you'll notice, I'm just putting glue on the center of the flowers, and that's more than enough to hold it on the card. The card will hold together. It'll be just fine. So they're coming together pretty quickly. This is sped up, and it's just a matter of just how it looks to you. Mix and match your colors. Grab a flower, start to put it down. You don't like it, you can put down a different flower. And that one didn't have enough glue on it, so we're going to go back. We're going to take a stab at that one again. And I think the pen actually ran out when I was working on that, so I went back and just grabbed some of my liquid white glue. I don't like using this because it presses out, and it's sometimes get too much glue, but it is an excellent glue. It works really well. And I use all kinds of different glues. Just use whatever you can afford, whatever you can find. You want to make sure the glue you're using is some sort of a paper craft type glue. Depending on how long you want it to last, you want some sort of an archival glue, something that's acid free. If you're going to put it in a scrapbook or something like that, then you definitely want to make sure you're using the right kind of glue. The pen there, which I went and got a new one, the pen there is designed to be used on scrapbooks and other things like that. So, but the glue, the big white glue, I'm not too sure about that. So I've never really worried about it when I put my cards together. So again, we're just gluing flowers down, just looking, moving things around, trying to see how it fits. And once you get that in place, put one little drop of glue on the back of that, and then we just put it on our card there. And again, sticking over the edge, we're going to trim that down. So now we're going to work on that top corner, and we'll show you the card when we're done. We'll show you how it looks. We'll compare it to the card. But we're just going to put different sprig there. You'll notice when I cut those stems out, I use the dark green and the light green. I just like that mix. Again, it's just what it looks like to you. When you're just getting started, you can follow the patterns to get your first card completed. But the most important thing is the card needs to look good to you. And so I'm actually looking, do I want to do anything else? I just felt like this needed a stem, and when I looked at it, I thought, you know what, that one right there, it just needs a stem. I know the rest of them are supposed to kind of be coming out of the envelope, but I felt like this one needed to be in. So we just dropped a stem right in there. And again, just as you're looking at it, you just kind of want to go with what looks good to you. So again, decide to add another little tiny one right there just to get a little bit of that blue to kind of balance things out. Some of your card makers, if you're watching their videos, they'll focus on symmetry. I've heard about the rule of 3. You try to put 3 items kind of similar around the page in an order, and if you put something else, you need to follow that kind of. I don't know how that works. I've never really sat down and thought about that hard. I do have a book of designs that I draw out when I get a card that I like. I'll sketch it out. That way I can make that card again later. But other than that, it's just what it looks like to you. So you see there, we're just trimming off the extra pieces. Got that all done. Sorry, we're out of frame a little bit there. But that is finished up that part of the card. We got all the flowers done. I think we decided to put a leaf, just a random leaf there, and I think maybe one more flower is going to go. Or can't remember if I saw that on the card. Yep, and then we're going to just we're going to drop 3 leaves in there just to kind of do that, and then we're going to drop a flower right over the top of it. And that's going to finish up that part of the card. And I think that may have been extra. I don't know if that was on the sample. Well, I don't remember. So we got that on. The last thing we do is we're going to put the little tag on the bottom. And this was just the ephemera that came with the kit. So it's just a little tag that says thank you. And I actually glued this down, but it kind of hung over the edge of the card and pressed down, and I didn't like the way it looked. So I actually went back and lifted that up, and we're going to stick a little piece of foam tape under it. When I did that, it kind of bent a little bit. You won't be able to see it in the video, but I didn't like the way it looked. So just that's one of those things you just want to think through before you do it. It's fine. Like I said, I would still give this card away. And then we just put the little clip on there. And when it's all said and done, you can compare it to the sample. And we're just trying to smooth that out a little bit. And that's pretty close. And there's our first card. Now I did this in another video, so I want to do it here. I like to show you the chaos that is my workspace. You see all the extra flower pieces there and all of the ephemera. One of the things that I do is I just lay all that out on my table, and I start kind of assembling cards, putting pieces together, see what I've got, and I start thinking in my mind about what I want to do. That's one of the things I enjoy about this process, is actually looking at all the different pieces and thinking about how they're going to work together. One of the other things I decided to do is I decided to take some of my white cardstock strips I had left over and stamp some of the sentiments on them. Now I'm actually going to wind up not using these. These will go in the box for later. But what I'm going to do is stamp these, and then I'll cut them out into little squares or strips, and I'll actually layer the white over those black strips, and then we'll put that on a card. I don't think I actually wound up using these in the kit. I meant to, but just didn't get around to it. But those are just that's just something you can do with your extra pieces of paper. Go ahead and just get those sentiments ready, and then later on you can just snip one out, glue it to a back, and you're ready to go. All right, so for this card, we took a couple pieces of the paper that came with the paper pad, and we trimmed them down to a diagonal, and we're going to put that on the front of the card. It's a little bit bigger, but again, we're going to trim it off. The first piece, it's easy to put on with the tape runner. Just run that across there so that we can line it up and put it on the front the front of the card where we want it. And then once we get it on there, we just trim off that bottom piece. And that gives us that nice crisp corner to corner. Now putting the second piece on, rather than try and use the runner on the paper, we put it actually on the card. And then we use a little bit of liquid glue in the corner pieces there just to make sure that it sticks down. And it makes it easier just to kind of line those edges up and press it down and get a good seam without it catching as much as it would if you'd used the tape runner. Had a little bit of the corner sticking up, just throw some more glue in there, press it down, easy to do. All right. So next thing we'll do with this card is that green it just seemed to speak to me. There's a beautiful little flower pot stamp that came with the set. I love it. So we're going to use our stamping platform here, and we're going to put that little coffee cup with the flowers in it. We're just going to stamp that on the edge there. I like to use archival ink. You can use any ink, but any good permanent ink. When you use a stamp platform, the beauty of that is you can re-ink. If you missed a spot, you can put some more ink on, go back and press it down, and then just look and make sure you got a nice crisp image. And that's just real beautiful. I love that. I love the way that looks. Just wipe off our stamp. Then later on we'll go back and clean it with some stamp cleaner if we need to. So look at that, just makes that pop so beautifully. Then we're going to grab a couple pieces of the ephemera that came with it. Love that little horse, just looks so pretty. The colors just seems to match, contrast, and fit in well with that green. So we're just going to use our foam, a 3D foam that comes with the kit. You get plenty of it. And we're going to pop him up right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add this wreath and this little back piece. Now this was a little tricky. So what I wanted to do here, and I actually switched to using the tape that came with the kit. I figured since it came with a kit, I should show you how to use it. The tape is so easy to use. You just put it on, it tears so easy, and then you can just place it down wherever you want to place it, and it sticks great. And then what we're going to do is actually use the foam to pop up the wreath, and we're going to put the wreath over the top of that sentiment that came with it. And then once we get that on, that's going to finish card number 2. Just a nice, beautiful card. All right, for card number 3, again, we used the paper pieces. One of the things I like to do is kind of layer a bottom piece with the top piece. A lot of the card kits that you get with Spellbinders are going to come with these rows like you see the telephone on the top there, and that just looks really good if you trim it to about 1/3 of the card and lay it across the top or the bottom or however you want to do it. So what we're going to do is use the plain pink paper or the decorative pink paper, and we're going to put our double-sided adhesive tape on the bottom there, and then we just pull off that extra piece. And we're going to put that on the bottom. I just like that pink checker. It just looks so good against the phones there. And obviously this card's going to be a kind of a, hey friend, call me, or good to know you, or you're a good friend, or let's stay in touch, and any kind of a number of sentiments that would work with a card like this when you're going to put the phone different things on there. So we're going to lay that on the top. That's going to finish that up. And then we're actually going to do a couple different things. I'm going to trim off the excess there. So I'm actually going to put some ephemera on here, but we're going to go back to our stamp again. One of the pieces of paper, that little blue with the cloud in it, it was so pretty, and it just was too blank. And you could have put another piece of ephemera over the top of it, some other paper over it, but I thought, let's just stamp it. And you don't need your stamp platform for this one. So this one was actually pretty easy. We're just going to put it on there, and then we're going to grab our stamp and a little a mounting block. We're just going to grab a stamp mounting block, and these come in different sizes. You can buy them in a kit. This one actually came in 4 different sizes. And so we put on the block, make sure it's stamped it real good, because there's no takesies backsies on this one. If you don't get enough ink on the stamp, you're going to have a hard time lining that back up. So I just usually over ink it, press nice and firm, but not too firm, because sometimes the ink will run out and it'll smear. But that's just trial and error. If you're not sure, you can always ink it up and try it on a scratch piece of paper. If you like it, tap a little more ink and then put it on your card. So we're going to go ahead and put the phone down. We're going to pop up this little sentiment that came with it, this have a lovely day. And then we're going to use a couple of our flowers that we cut earlier. We're just going to throw a little flower on the bottom left and the bottom right, just to kind of make that look, well, just to use the flowers that came with the kit, but just to, again, just to give it something a little more color and a little more life. And I just like this with the phones. Hello, darling friend. I love the old phone. Be surprised how many people don't know what those look like, that they actually used to have phones mounted on the wall, as I heard one comedian say. But we're just going to throw some flowers on here. Just put a little bit of glue, just like always. I say just put it in the bottom, because I like to have the petals kind of come off. And then I decided to go ahead and lift up the, well, I was going to lift up the telephone, then we decided not to. We just keep the sentiment in the middle, lift it up, and keep everything else flush, just to give it a nice uniform look. One of the reasons I don't like using the white glue there is it does smear, so you see me, just have to deal with it. And we're going to trim off the stems, and that is card number 3. All right, card number 4 is really simple. And just wanted to show you a technique on this card you might not have considered, and that is putting some of your paper pieces on the inside of the card. You can also stamp on the inside of the card. I didn't do that. I don't remember doing that with any of these cards, but you can put that on the inside, and it just matches the outside. Just a little something colorful to kind of fill out the card, and you still have plenty of room to write your message. So again, we're using our double-sided tape. I like to put it most of the time on the card front. It's just a little easier than trying to put it on that the thin paper. And then you just peel off the backing, and then you just line up your card and push it right down on the card front. Paper can be a little tricky to get off sometimes, but once you get the hang of it, it's nice and smooth. So we throw that front on there, and this one's going to be real easy. We're just using 2 pieces. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put that friends across the top. And there was a little bit of a paper burr, so what you saw me doing there was just kind of picking at it to kind of fix it off. I actually decided to go ahead and lift up the friends and the ribbon. I don't know. Well, I know we decided to lift up the friends, and there's that. And then we're going to just put the ribbon on there with some, yep, we lifted both of them up. All right. I forget these cards, guys. You make the card and I forget. I'm like, what did I do? Oh, yeah, that's right. So, because we go back and we watch this after the fact and kind of do these do the voiceovers after the fact, just so we can kind of talk through what we're doing as we're watching it again. But there you go. That is a quick and easy card. And oh, last minute, we did decide to use some of the puffy that came with the kit. Just grabbed a couple of the hearts and just stuck them on the front of the card, just to kind of finish it out. And there it is. All right, card number 5, another simple card. And you can see it looks like they're put together or not, because again, I lay these cards out. I get everything ready off camera. It takes me half an hour to an hour. I just start putting pieces together, laying them out, and then I stack them up, and then I grab the camera and I start recording as I actually put the cards together. And of course we do speed this up. Now, this whole video to make all these cards, and we actually left a few out, 40 minutes, but really you're talking probably about 3 hours to make the 10 plus cards that we make. Takes a little time. And I think I mentioned to you before, if you guys have ever seen my videos, you wonder why my sleeves change. It's because I'm not a professional full-time crafter, guys. I do this, I have a job like most of you do. And so when I have a little time, half an hour here or there, I sit down and I work on it. And if I don't get to finish something, I can walk away and I can come back and finish it later. So again, make sure that if you're doing this, just make sure you're having fun doing this. I love those little birds that came with it. I'm actually trying to decide if I wanted to pop them up or if I wanted to put them flush. And in the end, I just felt like those birds need to be lifted up, kind of like they're flying off the page. And so everything on this card wound up being lifted up. And this was a real easy card to make. Just the card paper from the paper pad, 3 pieces of the ephemera, and that is that card. Just that easy. Card number 6. Card number 6 is another simple card, or simple-ish card, if you will. So we're going to go ahead and we're laying our tape down, getting ready to put our paper over the front. We're going to put, again, another solid piece of paper over the front. We actually had a couple that I did where I used diagonals. The next card we're going to use a diagonal, but this one was just going to use one piece. Those are the easiest ones to make. You just cut your paper down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and you just glue it onto your card front. So I like the blues there, and I love the little stamps that came with the ephemera, with just like the little 5 cents and then the flowers and the one that just has the message that says sending hugs. I just thought that looked really pretty with this particular paper. It's funny, kind of an underwater theme, but I love that paper, and I just thought these stamps went really well with it. So just real easy. I'm going to throw 3 stamps on there. Then we're going to take that heart off to the right. We're actually going to lift that up with some foam, and we're going to pop that on there to get that card where it needs to be. Probably the only thing I would have done different on this card is I would have stamped a sentiment on the inside of the card. We actually didn't do that. We're actually just going to go ahead, and once we get this heart lifted up, we're going to put that on there. By the way, you'll notice that I'm using all the extra little pieces. Don't think that only the squares are usable. All of that is double-sided foam. Once you've used up the squares, use the rest of it. And now we move on to card number 7. And card number 7, again, is another card where we're going to layer 2 pieces to try and get a little diagonal. Now, I did actually measure this one wrong, and there was a couple different ways I could have done it to try and make it work. But in the end, I actually like that flat piece at the top, and I like the triangle matching all the way down to the corner. So I'm looking at it and trying to figure out what I did wrong. And it may have been that I was going to do it vertically and decided to do it horizontally. But in the end, I just went ahead and put down some double-sided tape on the card front. We're going to glue down that pink piece first and trim it off. And going to flush it, going to fix it so that it is flush in the bottom corner. And I'm running across as I wasn't sure how much I needed, so I just put that extra tape on the corner of the pink. That way, what I don't use, I'll make sure it adheres, and then we'll just cut off the rest. So we're going to flush that at the bottom corner and just press down. And once we get it where we need, we just flip it over, and we just cut off those pieces to make it nice and square. Real easy. Now, because I want to make sure that the blue piece lines up, all right, we're going to go corner to corner. Rather than putting the tape on the paper, I put it on the card. That way I can make sure that when I put the paper over there, it covers, everything is covered by the glue tape. And if there's a corner sticking up or anything, you can go back with your precision glue and you can always glue that down. But in this instance, we get all the tape on there and we just line it up corner to corner. And you don't even have to do it evenly, because once you trim it, it's going to be flush corner to corner because of the way the card is laid out. See how it's sticking over on both sides, but when it's done, you got that beautiful triangle. And that little piece that was left over there, I know you saw it real fast, that's actually can be used on another card, so we're going to set that aside. So with the kit came these nice little 3-dimensional stickers, and so we decided to use 2 of those. We can use the flowers and that wreath, and then we used a couple of the paper that came from the ephemera kit. The great thing about these, you just peel the sticker off the back and just throw it right on there. I love Spellbinders. I love Spellbinders for that reason. So these we're going to go ahead and put flush, since we do have we didn't want it kind of overkill with the 3D. So we put the 2 pieces down that are 3D, and then we flush mount the paper ephemera, and once we're done with that, the card is ready to go. However, on this end, I'm looking at it and I was thinking, you know, it looked okay, but then I thought, well, we got these sequins that came with the kit. So I decided, very last minute, mind you, to throw some sequins down there. Now, if you don't have a pickup tool like the one that I'm using there in my left hand, you're going to need one of those. When I first started making cards, trying to glue down all these tiny pieces drove me crazy, and I didn't use them. I had all these sequins and different pieces of small card that I just never used because it was too frustrating. And then I saw a video where someone used it. I said, what are they doing? And I found this thing called a pickup tool. So I highly recommend you grab one of those. Basically just a little piece of putty that kind of, with just low tack putty, and it just grabs nicely. So definitely recommend you get one of those tools. Okay. So we're going to put these sequins on, and it's just where you think you want to put them. I actually kind of got a little carried away. Probably put a few more than I liked. And then once you get them down and they don't look right, the ADD kicks in and I have to add more. But then in the end, the card is completed. So now we move on to card number 8. And card number 8 is another one of those kind of interactive cards like we told you about. On this particular one, what we're going to do is that little letters, that little beautiful post office box, we trimmed a spot where we could kind of drop that little postcard in there. So we'll show you that in just a minute again. But what we're doing with this one is we're going to go ahead and put our tape down. And once we get the tape off, we're going to put a piece of paper down. And we took another one of the sheets of paper, the one that had all the stamps on it, and I cut it up into 4 equal pieces. This is one of the techniques that I use in my card making. You'll see it on a lot of different cards. A lot of different card makers use it, where you'll add 2 or 3 or even 4 sectional pieces on the front of a card. This is one of my favorite ones. And so what we're actually going to do is we're going to take those 4 pieces and we're going to put them evenly around the front of the card. Cards want to stand up a little bit, so I just use my bone folder to make it lay a little bit flatter so that I could work with these. And we're just going to line them up and we're going to eyeball them. Once I get them where I want them, I'm going to take out one at a time and I'm going to glue them down. If I'd have pulled all 4 of these off, started gluing them back, they would not have lined up. I don't like to draw, I don't like to mark up. There's probably different, easier ways to do it, but for me, I just line it up, pull one off, glue it down, pull the next one off, glue it down, and in the end we get all 4 of those pieces glued down. Nice and easy. And then it all lines up. And if you were to put a tape measure to it, I'm sure it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, but hey, it's good enough. All right, so we got those 4 pieces down. Now we're going to put this letter down. Now you'll notice, see how that slides in and out? All I did was took a razor knife and just cut open that little slot in the front on the letter, and that way that piece would slide in there. Now I'm actually using a glue stick here. Again, any kind of glue that works. All right, and on that note, I'm just going to tuck it in there. And you can actually write something on the back of that. You can put a message on the back of that, so when they pull it out, there you go. And they'll know, they'll see when they open the card. All right. So what I'm looking now is trying to decide if I want to add anything kind of to it to embellish it. And I decided to add one little heart on the post office, and that was it. Now for this last card, and I've really sped things up, we're going to do a collage card. I always like to try and do a collage card with the Spellbinders kits because they have so much ephemera with them. So as you can see, I lined it up there. And I actually took a picture of it. And I have a picture off to the side on my iPad watching it. So when I go to start gluing this back down, I can kind of get it the way I want. And that first piece, I just put enough in the middle to hold it in place because I knew that I was going to be tucking flowers all around it. Now I'm okay with that because when I'm done with this card, what we're going to do is we're going to brush over the top of it with some Mod Podge, and that's going to seal all of that paper onto the top of the card. I will say the one mistake we made on this as we're working through this is did all this and then forgot to actually put it onto the card, actually onto the card base. So we'll do that at the end, and it can be a little bit tricky, but in this case it wasn't. So this is definitely sped up, and we're just working through it and just gluing our pieces down. And again, not putting a lot of glue, leaving openings, because with these flowers, see, I wanted to be able to tuck them down in the bottom back in there, and you just work it and just press down, and we glued them. Almost thought about leaving those where they'd come out. Again, interactive. and decided to go ahead and glue that down. Just felt like it needed to stay glued down. And once this is all said and done, once the card's completely done, then we're going to Mod Podge over it. So you see me putting the stamp there because I'm actually going to put a sentiment on the front of the card. I'm actually going to go back and grab a mounting block, and we're going to stamp on that before we Mod Podge everything. Okay, so I just wanted it in place because I didn't want to put flowers or something there and then not be able to make it fit after the fact. So I wanted to make sure that would fit. So we're going to trying to figure out where I want that one to go, and then finally decided just to stick it under there. And we got our stamp where we want it to be. That's going to go up top, so I got plenty of room for that. So now we grab our mounting block. Going to grab some of that archival ink. See you testing it. I like the way it looks. Press. Boom. Happiness blooms from within. Okay? And then the last thing that we're going to do is put those last two pieces on there. And then, like I said, we're going to Mod Podge over it. Stamping can be a little tricky. I recommend you get those stamping blocks. Not very expensive at all, but recommend that you get that and just practice. Practice your different inks because they're all going to react differently. And every stamp will be a little bit different too, depending on the font that's used. So I like the fact that this came in the kit. That circle was actually inside the other one. I actually popped it out and then decided to raise it up. I just think that looks really cool. So we used the circle and the border that came with the kit and just popped it up a little bit. And on this card, this is a piece of paper that came in the, and I really like this ledger paper. It just looked really neat, and it just seemed like it would fit well on the inside of a card. So we put down just enough of our double-sided tape to hold it in place, and we're going to put that on the inside of the card, and you can write your note there. Because if you can't really see it, but what it says to the left, you know, like the things to do, you could. It's a great place to put hug your wife, tell your children you love them, call a friend, or you can just put a bunch of different things there. You can put a list of things, the person that you're giving the card to that you would like to do for them, or ways that you think about them. All right. Now, as we said, we forgot to put the card on first. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It can be a little tricky because the paper is a little bit thin, but it actually wasn't. It actually went right on, pressed down. Just had to be careful with my raised piece there. And then, like I said, the last thing we're going to do on this card is we're going to grab just a brush and some Mod Podge, and we're going to Mod Podge over all of that, and that's going to hold everything in place for us. Real easy to do. Again, this is sped up. Don't worry about it. You'll see some of the brush strokes, but it dries. And you can use different. You can use clear. You can use matte. You can use glossy. They have glossy, and because we used archival ink, it didn't affect the stamp there. All right. When it's all said and done, felt like we needed some sequins, so I went ahead and grabbed my little tool and my little glue, and I'm actually using the Mod Podge. I actually found those glued on much easier using the Mod Podge. Just drop that because it dries clear. So even when you first put the sequin on, it's like, oh, you can see but once it dries, it works so much better. This is my new tool and technique for putting on sequins now. It's going to be using Mod Podge and my pickup tool. So we're going to drop a few sequins on there, put one on the flower. And then because I just felt like it needed something, I liked the thin paper ephemera. I wanted to go with a little more life, so we used our cardstock flowers. Just reached up there. All those flowers were just sitting up there that we made. So we're just going to throw, had that nice little open space right there, and that one just fits so perfectly right there. So we're going to drop that one in, and then we're just going to kind of see what we've got up there and look around. I thought that one looks so good there. It helps close in that space. And I like the look of that. And you can see, again, I'm actually going by and lifting up those edges. Because, again, it gives it that kind of just that three-dimensional feel, that interactive feel. I'm going to put one more flower on there. And that is going to finish up card number 9. So here we go. Here are the cards, all completed. Cards in no particular order. I do apologize. This card, for some reason, it didn't video. But that is another card we made. That'll be on the blog, the picture of it. You'll be able to go to my Instagram or my website, and you'll see pictures of all these. So hopefully that'll help you to go back and make that card. That was just a neat one that we did, and we had some problems with it, so I think I'm going to go back and do it again anyways and make a better card. But I did like that card because you can tell it kind of has an envelope feel to it. So card number 3, card number 4, there's that little interactive piece that just slides in and out. It's going to make that such a neat little, and my wife, I've done those for my cards, and she figured it out. She didn't fall out. She said, oh, this piece is loose, and she flipped it over, and there's a heart or an I love you. Just a great little way to add some extra surprises to your cards. So there's card number 6, card number 7, our friend's card with a little inside, a little different there. All right, then we got card number 8. All right, a lovely day. All right, and then we've got card number 9. I love that one with the flower, the coffee mug with the flowers. And card number 10, the sample card. Now I'm going to show you real quickly just these other cards. I'm going to make a video later using the large and small dies, but I actually did go ahead and make these cards. And I'm going to post those in a separate video. I'll put the link down in the comments so you'll have that once that's done. But we've actually got a little bit of this on video, so I'm actually going to show you these 3 cards in a separate video. But I wanted to show you now, if you do get the whole Spellbinder kit, so creative the stuff you can do with it. So there you go, guys. I hope that's inspired you to use this kit. You've probably already gotten yours and gone to work. The May kit will be coming out soon. We're going to jump right in with that. And until then, as always, guys, Pastor Ian saying happy, crabby crafting.